All right. I've got Oloff on the pod. I don't even know if this is a pod anymore. This is like a little secret track at the end of the album.
At the end of There's Nothing Wrong with Love, it's one of my favorite songs ever. At the end of There's Nothing Wrong with Love, the album, the last track, it's like a really good album. And they risked probably sort of ruining it, but they didn't at all. It's amazing. It's called Preview, and it's like a preview of the next Built to Spill album. And it's all fake. And he does all these songs, and one's like a really cringe, like country love song, and one's a pop punk song, like an emo song. He's like, I
Yeah.
feel so lost inside. Where can I hide? This pain's so real to me and stuff. And like, but he does it. He nails every style perfectly, and it makes it sound like the next Built to Spill album is going to be like terrible. And it's like an advert. It's so good, dude. It's fucking brilliant.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah,
That's hilarious. And I love that band. I mean, they make some great fucking music. So
oh, dude,
I like
incredible.
that.
I saw them
Um,
live once in I think it was in London, and I was a knob. I was really hammered, and I just kept between songs. I just kept shouting out the name of the band. I was just so drunk. I was basically blackout drunk, like, and I was just going, "Bill, just spill." And my friend told me afterwards. I was like, "Oh yeah, I was doing that, wasn't I? Sorry." And he was like, "Yeah, I think Doug Marsh looked uncomfortable. It was quite a small venue, and like." He just was like, "Is this guy being mean to me? Why is he doing this? Why is he telling me the name of my band?" It was weird. Also, that same
that's
night, I was with this one guy who was so socially uncomfortable. They were two friends I had from different social environments, so they didn't know each other. And this one guy was so nervous. He was drinking a beer in one of those plastic cups, and he had just got his beer, and I bought it for him because he didn't have any change. And he
yeah.
was so nervous, he just squeezed the beer and just burst his hand through the plastic cup, and it was a whole pint. And the whole pint just went all over my other mate's shoes who he'd just met. And he was like, "Oh, sorry, man." And his hand was all like in the plastic, and the beer was everywhere. I was like, "Yeah, I'm not buying you another one, man. That was fucking retarded." Like, just fully squeezed it because he was so nervous.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's like everyone else in here is drinking these and they're all fine. And you're just like, ah.
Oh Lord, that's incredible. Oh my God. You know, it kind of weirdly like kind of pivots what I'm going to talk about because it's like it's dealing with like bringing new people into a group and like that type of and then like their weird interactions with the groups around them. I feel like we've talked about like a little bit of history in our like our conversations and stuff. How familiar are you with Wilhelm II of Germany?
Not at all.
Okay. So I'm not a big like fact person as far as like the details and stuff. I really like the personality of people is what attracts me in history. But just a little basic overview. He was like the last German emperor before they got cucked in World War One. And he was, part of like, the royal German family. He was a part of, I think he was Wilhelm or I can't remember the other one, the older one, but he was like his grandson, and he was kind of like the crappy grandson, if you will, like very much was not overall impressive to his peers as far as like ruling Germany. He kind of liked to talk shit to people, even though he really couldn't back it up. And he kind of it's hard to put him as blame for World War I, but you got to blame the assassination of Franz Ferdinand. Shout out the band. But that's kind of more of like the
Named after a
catalyst.
horse, by the way.
Really?
Named after a horse who was named after the
No
Archduke.
shit. Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
They
Son of a
met this
bitch.
horse, and that's yeah, yeah, yeah. That's why.
Bet that horse had a big ass cock too. Those
I
horses,
mean,
man.
statistically speaking, yeah.
Yeah, that's an impaler right there.
But it's a bit like black guys, you wouldn't want to be the horse that had a really small cock. It's like a bit, like
Yeah. Dude,
I
can you
feel for them
imagine?
more than anyone.
Yeah, can you imagine being on like a basketball team and like, you're surrounded by 7 foot dudes with like 10-inch rods and like you got like 3 inches tops. Like how bad that would feel.
Dude, it'd be terrible. Because if you're like an anime black guy, it doesn't really matter. you're like a chubby funster and whatever, the women aren't necessarily expecting it. But if you're like a buff, tall black guy, and the thing is that it's just as likely as any other black guy to have a micro penis. There's no correlation with height. There is a correlation with race. There's no correlation with height. And there are black guys with micro penises. So some of those NBA guys and NFL guys definitely have micro penises.
Mm-hmm. Next to some fucking hogs, dude.
Probably, yeah.
Fucking Jesus, just the variety in the locker room. Like,
Or that maybe they're
shit.
overrepresented. Like, you know how like Kendrick Lamar, he's like 5'4", and then he's like, I'm going to be the best rapper of all time because I'm 5'4", and I have to, you know what I mean? It's I have to escape being 5'4". Maybe a lot of the guys who are really good at basketball who just practiced all day, it's like, man, I got fucking micro penis. I'm just going to practice all day, every day, make sure no one can, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I disagree with it because like at the end of the day, if you've got, a real baseball bat down there, it's going to get around, especially, you please a couple of people, people talk like this is just the way of the world. So like, they're going to let people know. Whereas like, if you're, 6'11" with a great jump shot and a 4-inch hard wang, like, yeah, you're like, well, fuck. The word is out that I can't really, I'm not that great, but I got a basketball hoop in the backyard.
For sure. I can control that.
Yeah. I can at least like dictate my outcome here. But anyways, so like as far as like, the details and stuff, long story short, last German emperor ends up losing the throne when Germany loses World War One. And they basically, what I think is like the first part that's hilarious in this is he doesn't leave the continent of Europe. He just goes to the Netherlands and is just like, I'm going to vibe, bro. So he buys a house over in the Netherlands, and it's actually kind of a very plain house. Like if I were to describe it, it looks like if you've ever gone to like an upper middle class suburb, or like maybe a little bit higher in the income bracket, and like there's a section of houses that are basically, they're the exact same architectural style as like lower income houses, they're just bigger. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh yeah, that's just like instead of a 20-foot by 40-foot size house, that's a 100-foot by 200-foot size version of that house. That's what that house looks like. It's very plain. It's like kind of got windows in the front. It looks very, 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 very suburban. It's very interesting. And he basically, when he was there, he just kind of entertained people, partied, hung out with like some of his cousins who were royalty and stuff like that. He also, I guess, like killed thousands of animals, which I think is also hilarious because he's an old man. So there's just a guy who's in his like 60s or 70s wandering around a property, just murdering everything in sight. Hard ass, really hard ass.
I feel guys from that era who look like that with the moustache and the hat, that was just part of the course. Killing animals was like part of daily life. A sport.
Yeah.
Food, fun, probably,
He also, I guess, was really into chopping wood, and thousands of trees were chopped down at his stay, like, which I thought was kind of interesting too, because like, do you think that was because things didn't work out? The old angry husband, I'm going to go out and this dude lost an empire and cut down a forest. And you know what? I get it.
Do you think he downplayed what happened when he was there with people? He's like, yeah, I'm just like anybody else, or was he like, no, like, I'm here because I fucked up.
So that's what we're going to get into, my friend. So it's important to know that after he leaves, he's still rich. He actually, when he came over, he took over like an entire like 60 railway wagons full of shit, like art, furniture, silver, gold, etc. So he made off pretty well considering, what happened to him and everything. And he, from the time that he left until he died in, let me double check, I think it's 42. So World War II is happening at that point. 41, excuse me. So from the time he abdicated in 1918, so from 1918 to 1941, he kind of just talk shit about European politics and was just like, yeah, no, what you guys are doing is completely wrong. Like, I think you guys should do it another way. And people will be like, okay, well, what way do you think we should do it? He'd be like, I mean, definitely not this way, bro. Like he just liked to complain and he liked to talk shit. And then this is my favorite part. Okay. The Nazis come into power. Okay. And that's his home turf, you know. And there is kind of like this vibe throughout Europe of like, how's he going to take this? Because like this is his like former country, but they obviously have some spicy views, to say the least. And needless to say, basically what happens is I'm going to portray a scenario of and it's a nutshelling, but it's kind of what happened. So he basically writes Hitler a letter and he's like, look, man, I think what you guys are doing is fucking fire, bro. Like it is straight go, like you are returning Germany to its previous glory. I mean, it would be kind of cool if you guys ended up like, let me go back into power. That'd be pretty interesting. But honestly, bro, like fucking Germany is fire right now, dude. Like it is the shit. And Germany, Hitler saw the letter. And this is a recorded response. And I mean recorded in the sense that it's been verified by other people around him. But apparently Hitler turned to his like assistant or whatever and was just like, wow, what an idiot. So they kind of dissed him. They kind of like cold shouldered him. And he ended up trying to write them again and was basically like, you know, big up in him after they took over Paris and shit like that, giving him the high fives, you know, and all that fun stuff. And again, they kind of didn't really respond to him. Okay. And what happened is he kind of did the ultimate like, I tried to be friends with these guys, but they didn't want to be friends with me. So now I'm going to act like I never really wanted to be friends with them. And he basically went from going like, yo, man, like Hitler and the Nazis are fire, bro. Like they are the shit. Hitler's response, hey, dude, you suck. Who would even like Nazis, man? Like, I mean, like, that's kind of fucked up. Like, who would, that's kind of bad. Like, Nazis? Who would like those dudes? They're weird. So certainly I never would like Nazis or whatever. So he flipped on him. He did, and it's very great because you know obviously what the you know the Nazis did and stuff like that. It's just a very interesting way to kind of like how things ended up playing out in the world of global politics, if you will. But it ends in one of my favorite moments in like history, and I love history. I love learning about it. It's my favorite. It's by far my favorite subject in school. It's just always been the thing that I've been into. And so he, you know, basically is like, fuck the Nazis, all this shit, because they didn't respond to him well and, you know, didn't want to suck his dick and everything. And like he dies when the Nazis are still in power. He had requested for a funeral to be buried in Germany because that was his home country. And the Nazis go, okay, dude, but you're getting buried with full Nazi honors. And there's all these pictures at his funeral of all these Nazi flags hanging everywhere. And it's like, damn, dude, did they have a sense of humor? Like, what is this? Like, we've always portrayed them as like robotic killers, and I'm not saying they are that or they aren't that, but like, that's weirdly human. Like that's funny. Like
what, like reject him until the day that he dies and then sort of denigrate him with Nazi memorabilia.
Yeah.
Yeah, or it could be that they felt bad. They were like, oh, it's like he's like a Make-A-Wish kid almost, you know, and they were like, this poor fella, like, let's give him a Nazi burial. We should have let him hang out with us, you know, like I feel bad that we sort of buoyed him off like that, you know. Which either
really,
way, it still is not in keeping with the Nazi image, is it really?
yeah. it's an odd thing about them, isn't it?
It's either humorous, illogical, or empathetic. All three are sort of incongruent with their whole thing.
It's one of my favorite stories in history. It's not really, reported about, but it's just such an odd case, man. It really cracks me up, and like I just I have I've always found it funny. I've always found it kind of and like you bring a good point because like even if you look at it from other angles, they still don't really line up with like Nazi, like typical Nazi thought and feeling. Oh
Yeah,
Lord.
it's like what even was he? It also, I guess, like speaks to the fact that like major world events are shaped by stuff that is as silly as like things that you or I might experience socially, and that can have an
Yeah.
impact on like global policy and wars and shit. Just someone
Mm,
being like, "Oh, fine then, fuck you."
Yeah. Yeah, well, it really does like all those Shakespearean things are very correct because like it really does kind of give you an eye into like not only do these problems exist in this world, but it's kind of been the case as old as time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I even get the feeling with the Ukraine-Russia war, there's a lot of like sort of like, no, 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 kind of like
Hmm.
not considered kind of rationale, but just like, all right, that's how it's going to be. Fine, and kind of like, or more like, I can't back down now. Come on, man. I'm going to look like a dick, like I'm gonna look like a
Yeah.
dick in front of everyone. Everyone's going to think I'm a prick. I can't pull out.
Bro, the political idea of people being pot committed is so fucking real. All right, man. It was good talking to you. We'll have to do another
Yeah,
one of
you
these
too, mate. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I
for
hope you got
sure.
your thing for your hidden track.
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna be great. I appreciate you, brother. You have a good day.
Yeah, you too, man. Great to see you. Have a nice one.
Great to see you. Bye.
Bye.
A Marian heart, shine pure, full of golden light, passion, peace, and calm. My lovely daughter, smart, sweet, and sassy for days, she brightens the world. Marian is love, her smell is all familiar, world is empty without you. Blonde locks flow, smiles all around your presence. You are the eternal hope. Cry alone, miss your hands and face. Just want to hear you speak. Cut, copy, paste, repeat. Cut, copy, paste, repeat. Cut, copy, paste, repeat. Cut, copy, paste, repeat. Cut, copy, paste, repeat.